Good morning and happy Wednesday. Today we are on lesson 13. We're going to be working on reading words with tricky spelling I today. We're going to start out with our reader today. We're reading the story A Famous Ship. You're going to find this story in your packet. It's going to start on page 28. So go ahead, grab your packet, turn to page 28, and we're going to get ready to read. Remember, the page numbers from the reader are pages 38 to 45. So if we're ever citing text evidence, those are the page numbers that you're going to want to use. Let's get started. Chapter 4, A Famous Ship. Take a look at this picture on this page. This is a picture of a boat called the USS Constitution. That's the ship we're going to be reading about today. While we're reading this page, I want you to listen to find out what the letters USS stand for. Let's begin. The ship on the right is the USS Constitution. It was one of the ships that battled in the War of 1812. The letters USS stand for United States Ship. So again, what do the letters USS stand for? Tell me out loud. Good. Those letters stand for United States Ship. It tells us that right there in the text. Let's turn to the next page. On this page, we see 3 bold words. Usually, if we were in class, I would ask you to turn to the back of your reader to the glossary, and I would call on some of you to read me the definitions. Because we don't have our readers and we don't have a glossary, I'll go ahead and go over those vocabulary words with you. The first word at the top is document. This word is? A document is an official or important paper. The next vocabulary word in bold is branch. That word is? A branch is one of the 3 major parts of the government. So that's just what they call the parts. They call them branches. And then the last vocabulary word at the end of the first paragraph is Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court of law in the United States. Take a look at this caption under the picture on this page. This is a painting of the Constitutional Convention. That's where the U.S. Constitution was signed. While we're reading, listen to see what document lays out the laws of the land. The USS Constitution was named for a very important document, the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution lays out the laws of the land. It states what people serving in each branch of the U.S. government can do. It says what the President, the Congress, and the Supreme Court can do, and also what they cannot do. So, what's the name of that document that lays out the laws of the land? Tell me out loud. Good job. That document is called the Constitution. They tell us in this sentence the Constitution lays out the laws of the land. While we read the next paragraph, listen to find out why did the people of the United States name one of their fighting ships after the Constitution? Why did they name it after this document? Let's go ahead and read. James Madison had helped write the Constitution. He had also played a key role in getting states to accept it. The people of the United States were proud of the Constitution, so they named one of their fighting ships the USS Constitution. So again, look in the story to see why did the people of the United States name one of their fighting ships after the Constitution? Tell me out loud. Good job. They named it the Constitution because it was something that the people of the United States were proud of. So because they were proud of that document, they wanted to name their battleship after something that they were proud of. Let's turn the page. On this page, we see 3 more vocabulary words. Let's go over them. The first one in the first paragraph is string. In this story, string is another word for series. The next word, kind of in the middle of the page, is masts. Masts are tall poles on a ship that the sails are attached to. So those are the big, tall poles on the ship. The last word down at the bottom of the page is planks. Planks are a long, thick board. While we're reading this page, listen to see why did the American sailors say that the USS Constitution's sides were made of iron? Why did they say that? Don't forget to track the words that I'm saying with your finger and think through them as I'm saying them out loud. Let's start reading. During the War of 1812, the USS Constitution had a string of battles on the high seas. In one battle, the USS Constitution attacked a British ship. It was a hard fight. The sailors on both sides fired cannons. The guns blazed and smoked. The 2 ships drifted closer. Once, they even bumped into each other. Cannonballs from the USS Constitution smashed into the side of the British ship. They made big holes in it. They ripped off a sail. They knocked down the ship's masts. The British ship fired back, but its cannonballs did less damage to the US ship. In fact, some of them bounced off the thick walls of the American ship. When the American sailors saw this, they cheered. "Hooray!" one of them shouted. "Her sides are made of iron." In fact, however, the sides of the ship were not made of iron, but of very thick planks of wood. The wooden sides of the USS Constitution were much thicker than most ships. So again, why did the American sailors say that the USS Constitution's sides were made of iron? We know that's not true. Why did they say that? Look in the story and find the answer and tell me out loud. Right. It was because the cannonballs were bouncing off the walls of the American ship. They tell us this right here. Because they were bouncing off the walls of the ship, it was almost like the ship's sides were made of iron, even though it was really just very thick wood. Did the same thing happen to the British ships? Look back on this page and see if you can find where it tells you what happened to the British ships. Good. No, the same thing didn't happen to the British ships. Right here it says they made big holes in it and they ripped off a sail. So the British ships were getting destroyed by the USS Constitution's cannonballs, but the USS Constitution had sides like iron. Let's turn the page and keep reading. Tracking with your finger, the USS Constitution won the battle. The British ship was so smashed up that it could not be fixed. The British had to sink it. When people were told about the battle, they became excited. They yelled and shouted. They waved flags and had parties. They treated the sailors on the USS Constitution as heroes. They also gave the ship a nickname. They called it Old Ironsides. They called it because its wooden sides seemed as strong as iron. Old Ironsides kept on fighting. It battled more than 20 times and never lost a battle. Check out that picture. This is the actual USS Constitution, and it's still floating today. If you ever go to Boston Harbor, you can visit Old Ironsides, the USS Constitution, and see what that real ship looks like. So looking on this page, last question I have from this story is, what nickname did the USS Constitution get because of its thick sides? What was the USS Constitution's nickname? Tell me out loud. Good. Right here it says they called it Old Ironsides. Its nickname was Old Ironsides. Nice job with our story. Now we're ready to move on to our phonics portion of our lesson. Today, we see at the top of this slide the sound E, the long E sound. We have already learned a lot of different ways to make the long E sound. We already know that at the end of a word, sometimes the letter Y says E. We learned that the letter E can make its long sound, E. We learned that when we see a double E, it says E. We learned EA can say E. IE can say E. EY can say E. And E consonant E can say E. Today, we're talking about this one, how the letter I can also say E, like in the word ski. Like in the word. Let's take a look at some examples. So this is the one I just shared with you. In the word ski, the I says E. As we continue reading these words, every time you see the green letter I, you're going to make the sound E. The sound? Good. Let's try it out. Showing you this one as an example. E, taxi. Let's try this one. Pizza. Try this one on your own. Did you get radio? Good job. This word is radio. R-A-D-E-O. Radio. Ooh, try this one. This is a big word. If you're having trouble, separate out these first two letters because we already know that word. Did you get medium? Good job. Medium. Medium. This word is medium. Try this one. This one is a musical instrument. P-E-A-N-O. Piano. This word is piano. This one is a little tricky. The E-A right here is going to say eh. Did you get it? H-E-V-E-R. Heavier. This word is heavier. Similar, except this time the EA is going to say E. E-Z-E-R. Easier. This word is easier. So here's why we call the letter I a tricky spelling. The letter I now has 3 sounds that we know it can make. The first sound you should always try in a word you don't know when you see the letter I is the sound I. The sound, like in these words at the top, it, fish, and his. That's I's most common sound is I. If you're trying to sound out a word that you don't know, and you tried I and it didn't make a real word, that's when you're going to try the sound I, the sound, like in these words, driver, find, and writer. Now, let's say you're reading a really challenging word and you tried it. It didn't work. It didn't make a real word. You tried I. It still didn't make a real word. This is where reading is like a puzzle. That's when you're going to try the E sound that we learned today, like in the words ski, taxi, and easier. So the order to try sounds for the letter I is I, E. I, then I, then E. Let's take a look at our activity page. Our activity page today is on page 32 of your packet. So go ahead, grab your packet, turn to page 32, and let's look at the instructions. They tell us that we want to write the word in each sentence that has the tricky spelling I sounded as under it, the tricky spelling I sounded as I under driver, and the tricky spelling sounded as E under ski. Kind of a challenging way of saying we're just going to listen for the I sound and write the word under the correct column that matches the I sound that we hear. So let's look at number 1. They did that one for us already as an example. Number 1 says, my mom plays the... So they have the it sound first, like in the word it, because that's what we usually hear. So let's try that first. Mom plays the P and O, the piano. I've never heard of a piano. So now I'm going to try the I sound. Pi and O. Mom plays the piano. That still sounds strange. So I don't think that it goes under this second column. Now we're going to try the E sound. Mom plays the P and O. Piano. That sounds right. So they wrote piano right here under the I column. Let's try number 2. Number 2 has 2 words, so we need to make sure we write both of them down in the right columns. I like Trying the I sound. I like pepperoni. That sounds weird. Pepperoni. That sounds weird too. Pepperoni. Oh, there we go. I've heard of pepperoni. And then looking at that other word, pizza. No way. Pizza. No way. Pizza. That sounds right. So I'm going to write pepperoni and pizza in the E column. Excuse my terrible handwriting on these PowerPoints. It's hard to write with the mouse. Your handwriting should look much better than mine on your paper. Pepperoni and pizza. Put them both in the E column. All done. As you complete number 3 through 7, listen carefully to see if the underlined I is making the I sound, the I sound, or the E sound. Go ahead and complete that activity page, and then you're done with your ELA work for today. Awesome, awesome job. I will see you again tomorrow for lesson 14. Bye-bye.